So, my first video, cool, of Cat's Cancer Chronicles, because alliterations are fun. If you're a friend of mine, that means you probably got this link from my Facebook, or you were otherwise told. So you should already know that I have cancer. It's pretty awesome, except the opposite of that word. About 2 months ago, I noticed that my neck was sticking out on one side. It wasn't that bad at first, but it was still noticeable, and I was hoping that it would go away on its own. But after 5 or 6 weeks of it being there and actually seeming to get a little worse, I decided it was time to see a doctor. And the doctor kind of touched it and immediately said that I needed to get an MRI as soon as possible. So that was the point where I kind of started to panic a little, because my dad's oldest half-brother was 28 years old when he died from lymphoma. And I'm not stupid. I know that lumps on somebody's neck, right where the lymph lines are, means potentially lymphoma. So I wonder if you can actually see. It's hard to see this one, but it feels like there's this golf ball right here in my neck. I didn't actually notice this one until after they told me I had lymphoma, because then they started feeling all the way down. And they saw it on the scan. But you can tell there's a problem here. This is kind of obvious. It's kind of massive. I mean, it probably stops right back here behind my ear, and you can feel the mass coming down like that. So, clearly something is seriously jacked up. The neck MRI was not the most pleasant experience of my life. They gave me headphones so I could listen to music during it. But then they put something over top of the headphones to hold my head in place, and they put something around my neck to hold my neck in place, and then they put like a guard like over my chest. So even if I wanted to move, I couldn't have moved, which didn't really bother me until I got sent into the MRI machine. And then I got my eyes open and I can see, like, I'm this far away from, the walls of the machine, and everywhere I look, like, all I see is the inside of the machine, and I realize I have a little bit of an issue with claustrophobia, apparently. Great time to learn that. They took more scans than they initially said they would. Oh, we're just going to take 2, and then they take 3 or 4. And when all was said and done, they didn't take the IV out of my arm. They told me to go upstairs, talk to my doctor, and then I'd be coming back down. So I knew I was about to get bad news. I'm not dumb. So the doctor walked in the room and was like, "I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but you were right. You have lymphoma." And, so I guess I got that going for me. I mean, being always right is usually a very gratifying feeling. Didn't want to be right this time, but well, look on the bright side. So when I was done talking with her, and she made me call somebody, and I started crying at that point. But I got 3 papers handed to me and was told to go back down to diagnostics. It was 2 papers for CT scans and a brain MRI. Fortunately, I didn't have to have the brain MRI that day. They let me schedule it for like the Monday afterwards, so like 4 days later. But they did the CT scan that right then. Even though it's on 2 papers, they just do it as one scan. I mean, they write it as neck to chest and then chest to pelvis for some reason. I think that's how it gets billed for insurance. CT contrast, if you've never had a CT scan before, it's super fun, super cool stuff. You actually feel it spreading across your body. It feels hot as it spreads across. And then it hits your bladder, and it makes you feel like you have to pee. Fun experience. But CT scans don't take that long. I mean, it's just like this hoop-shaped machine that tells you to hold your breath as you get moved in and out of it, because they don't want to see movement on the scans, or variation, I guess. When that was all done, I got to talk to a radiologist. I got to see my scans. My neck looks absolutely disgusting. I want to get a copy of it so I can show it off to people. Like, really, it looks gross. There's just like these giant white lumps on the side of my neck, at the base of my neck. He quickly, you know, looked through the CT scan. Well, he had already looked through it, I guess, a little more thoroughly. But he was like, yeah, you know, it looks like you've got it in your upper chest, like right up in here. But he didn't see it anywhere else in my body. So it seems to all just be in this general area. Which is, you know, kind of good news. I mean, it's better than having it everywhere. He told me the reason why I need to have a brain MRI is because on one of the scans of my neck MRI, it looked like there might be something in my brain, but I didn't see it in other views of that region. He said it was probably nothing, but you don't kind of play with probablys when it comes to potentially having cancer in your brain. So that's why I had to get a brain MRI. My parents smothered me with attention all weekend, hardly let me have any time alone, which sucks when you're as introverted as I am. But, you know, I guess that's like the natural reaction to finding out that your kid has cancer. Brain MRI wasn't quite as bad as the neck MRI because I guess I knew what to expect. I knew not to open my eyes when I was inside the machine. And they didn't quite strap me down as bad. I could have moved my head if I wanted to, but it still kind of had stuff over it. It turns out that my brain's perfectly normal and healthy. What they saw on that scan of my neck MRI was just an artifact, which is apparently doctor speak for nothing at all, just something that looked like something but isn't actually there. Later that day, I had a needle biopsy done of this massive grossness on my neck. You know, 2 shots of lidocaine, and then they just stuck the giant biopsy needle in and took out a couple samples. So that was cool. I got to experience the phenomenon of everybody wanting to talk about my oncologist's claim to fame.
This is Jeopardy! Introducing today's contestant, an oncologist from Annapolis, Maryland, Jay Reed.
Yeah, it's like this compulsion where if they look at my chart and they see his name, they have to mention Jeopardy. Like, this has happened with 5 or 6 different people so far, and I don't think it's going to stop. I got to meet him a couple days after the biopsy. He didn't have bad news. He didn't have good news. He had no news. It turns out the biopsy was inconclusive. He explained it as my lymph nodes being so big and so swollen that while they know the cancer is down there somewhere underneath it all, they couldn't actually get a good sample of it. They saw abnormal lymph cells, but they didn't see any markers of a specific cancer. They were looking for Reed-Stenberg cells. I think that's how you pronounce it. So he said because it wouldn't be fair to me to get absolutely no answers whatsoever, he said due to my age and other factors, he strongly suspects that I have Hodgkin's. It's good to note that I have absolutely no symptoms except for the shit on my neck. I don't get night sweats. I don't have fatigue. No weight loss. Like I wish I had rapid weight loss. You know, nothing. Like absolutely nothing is wrong with me except I have these massive growths on my neck and in my chest. So operating under the assumption that I have Hodgkin's, you know, he scheduled me to get a whole bunch of tests done while waiting to get the next biopsy. So he scheduled me for a bone marrow biopsy, PET CT scan, pulmonary test, echo, and a bunch of blood work. Stuff I'd need to get done to start treatment. So I'll talk about those in part 2.